I am reviewing with you the things that you need to know for your Module 3 discussion post, or whatever module this discussion post appears on if you are watching this in a class where I have put it somewhere else. But I have put a link here for your format for your writing, and make sure that you click on any links that I post. They are there to help you. But your goal for this week is to do some research on the author of one of the texts within the module you are working on this week, not a past module or a future module. My sample will be from a previous module, so you can feel free to use any of the ones in the current module without copying what I'm doing. So you're going to find something about the author of the article that helps you understand what the author thinks is important to understand about when to conform and when to rebel. Find some biographical information or something in an article where perhaps one of the literary critics has written about the author or his or her work that you can use to help explain maybe the author's thought process behind this work. This is not something we do all the time with literary analysis, but it is one way of looking at a work of literature. It's a biographical criticism. So that is a totally acceptable way to do that unless you have a specific prompt that tells you to do something else. So within your paragraph, you're going to have evidence with commentary. Of course, you're going to start with an assertion statement or a main idea sentence, then give evidence, which is going to be your quotation from the source. You can start with the primary source or the secondary source. The primary source is the work of literature you are writing about. The secondary source is the article about the author. And then you'll use whichever piece that you didn't use, primary source or secondary source, to give a second bit of evidence that contributes to the assertion statement, and then have commentary. An assertion statement is much like a thesis, so that main argument that you are setting out to prove in your writing, and then a concluding sentence. Okay, and so I made a note about using 2 pieces of evidence, and you can use the attachment to see some example paragraphs, and I will show you my example paragraph. You should write at least 200 insightful words, as always. You need a creative original title for every writing assignment you do. You'll end your writing with the works cited for the primary and secondary sources. So you'll have 2. You have primary and secondary, and you're going to use Alabama Virtual Library. If you cannot use that, you could use Google Scholar. It's a little more difficult to navigate, but let me show you how to find Alabama Virtual Library. So just go back to Wallace State. When you're on the Wallace State homepage, click Library, then click Alabama Virtual Library. And I say to stay with all sources. Just use all sources, because when you click college and university, sometimes it takes away some of the sources that you want. So click all sources, then you can scroll down through all of these databases. They're in alphabetical order, so look for the ones that start with the word Gale. That's a good database for humanities, literary analysis in particular. So you have several options. Stay away from the ones that say elementary and middle school, because you are in college. So you could use any of these that have like literature criticism. That'll be great for your research coming up. For my sample, I used the Contemporary Authors database. So I will show you that. You click on that, and then you search for your author. And I did Invictus so that you would not be using the same thing I did, and you'll use your own. Only one source came up in that one, but it is a decent size. It's biography, which is what I'm looking for. So I click on that, and I can read all of the details. You don't want to use the bullet points. You want to go to the written commentary that gives you some biography and perhaps a little more. I found a quotation from a literary critic here, so that was useful. Let's see. I want to show you one very wonderful thing about using AVL. You have the works cited done for you. So as long as it's MLA, you don't want to use any of these other styles. Look at MLA, make sure it's clicked, and then you can highlight it and copy, and you can paste it to your work. I'll show you mine. Here's my discussion sample. Here's my work cited, and I'm just going to copy it under here. I'm going to copy, and I recommend that you start with the work cited, just because, get it out of the way, and you don't want to lose your work cited. It's hard to go back and find later. So I'm clicking on merge formatting, because if I don't, then see my the things that were in italics are no longer in italics, and I need my container title to be in italics. But you'll notice that I do not have the hanging indent. So if I find that to be true, I will highlight the whole thing, go up next to paragraph, click the little square that gives me the indentation settings, and under special I click hanging and OK. Now notice that my sources are in alphabetical order, so it doesn't matter that one starts with the author name and one starts with just an article, even though that's the author name. The article that you find may well be the name of the author, so don't get confused and write it as the author is writing his own biography, because he's not. So make sure that you're clear on that. This is an article titled William Ernest Henley. What else do you need to know? You need to be able to put this on its own page. You can go to Insert and go to Page Break, and that'll put it on its own page. And I can, oops, I'm going to do that again. Oh, no, it fixed it. I wanted the works cited at the very top. I can also put in page numbers from Insert page number, top of page, and then type my last name next to the page number. I'll put last name like that. You put your actual last name, and then be sure to fix the font so it matches the rest of the essay, which should be 12 point Times New Roman. You should be double spaced, all of that good stuff, Then you can close that out. Okay, make sure you have a creative original title, have your heading here. Start with a sentence that is something general that everybody can relate to, and it should relate to the theme that you're going to be discussing in relation to the biographical information you learn about your author. And then introduce the author you're talking about, and you can continue on with information about the author. And I have cited here's my first piece of evidence, and I'm citing from the article William Ernest Henley, and I went ahead and wrote that it was in Gale Literature Contemporary Authors, because there are probably many articles titled William Ernest Henley that gives his biography. So I'm just making sure that's clear. And then I quote from the article. Notice there is no parenthetical citation here, because anything that would have gone in the parenthetical citation is already in the information that introduces the quotation. So I can look at the article title and go straight to the works cited to see which source is being quoted here. There's no page number also on an AVL article for the most part, depending on how you approach it. But mine did not have a page number, so I cannot put a page number in the parenthetical citation either. So I don't need the parenthetical citation if I have that information in the introduction to the quotation. Then I need to explain the significance of the quotation. And then I continue on to give another quotation from that article, partly because I wanted to show you how to format a quote within a quote. So the author, we don't know the author of this article. It's not given. You can look in the works cited. That's one useful thing about doing the works cited first. Is there an author? No, there's no author listed, which may be true of a biographical collection. So the author's article cites another writer. Cites means quotes, okay? I'm trying to avoid using the word quote at all in my writing because oftentimes students use the word quote in a way that they don't mean to use it, so just avoid it. But here's one where you could use quotes because we're saying the author of the article is actually quoting someone else. So when you have a quote within a quote, you start with the quotation marks around the selection from the article you are quoting, and then the part in the article that's in quotation marks goes in single quotation marks. And then I have the title of the poem that's also within the quotation, so it can go in single quotation marks as well. And then at the end, I'm ending where the quotation ended. So I have my single quotation mark and the double quotation marks. So it looks like 3 in a row here. And here I did not introduce the quotation with the article title. So I put the article title in the parenthetical citation. Again, there's no page number, so I don't have that. But the article title in quotation marks in parentheses followed by the period is how to format that. And then notice I have a blocked quotation because I'm quoting more than 4 lines or more than 3 lines of the poem. So it's set up as a blocked quotation that's indented 2 lines or 2 tab spaces over. And then I don't start a new paragraph when I finish the block quotation. I keep it aligned with the rest of the writing. So that is my second set of evidence. From the primary source, I started with my secondary source and then went to the primary source, and then here's all my explanation. And then my closing, I referenced a little bit of Henley's poem one more time. And never end with a quotation, always end with another little piece of commentary on the significance to the overall meaning. And then you have your work cited. So to upload, I'm just going to copy and paste it right into the text box. This is important, especially if you are using a Mac, because I can't open a Pages document. You would have to save as a PDF. So make sure that you upload correctly as well. I will post the sample for you so you can look at it and let me know if you have any questions.